Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell, and this is my spoiler talk review of Sorry to Bother You. I'm just gonna be honest, I didn't really know if I wanted to make this video or not, just because if you saw my non-spoiler review of this movie, you'll know that I had kind of a change of heart on it during my editing process and decided to refilm a certain section of the video because I kind of came up with basically my own interpretation of the ending, which actually made a lot of sense to me within the context of the film. And so I kind of just want to talk about that, dissect it a little bit, and just see if other people agree, if I'm just totally out on left field, or if it makes sense or something. I should also go without saying, if you have not seen Sorry to Bother You yet, probably don't watch this because I'm going to talk about the ending of the film, basically the majority of the plot leading up to the ending and then the ending itself. Can I talk about what it means and things of that sort? So if you don't want that spoiled for you, probably stop watching here, come back after you've seen it and you want to talk about the ending. So for the large majority of this film, we are introduced to this company. I don't remember the name of it offhand, but they're basically a company where, like I said in my other review, you basically sign your life away in a contract and you work for them for free, basically. You end up being their slave, and they provide you with housing as well as food. And as we see, like, behind the scenes documentaries on NTV, which is funny, you see like the really crap food that they're given and the really crappy housing. They're all on like bunk beds, basically in like a prison cell essentially. You just see this advertised throughout the course of the movie, either on TV or on billboards or just in the background of certain scenes and shots. And eventually our main character, Cassius Green, he ends up selling for this company, trying to give them more profits, basically make deals and cause other companies internationally to invest in them so that they can have this company make their products and basically endorse the company. And we also have Stephen Ewan's character basically launching this protest along with wanting like a union salary for the workers of this company. It also is being protested because a lot of people just see this place as slavery and basically people signing up to be slaves and things of that sort, which is more or less true with how this movie ends up going. Long story short, we have Cassius Green, who's at this party. He's very uncomfortable there. We see just this giant orgy going on in the background, and he's told that Armie Hammer's character wants to sit down and talk to him, and so he just goes all the way to this basement area of this house, meets Armie Hammer in his office, tells him that he has to take a piss, and ends up stumbling into this room where he discovers a bathroom stall, and out of that stall pops out a hybrid horse-human thing. And that's initially where the film just kind of threw me, as I said in my video. It just seemed to go just into this really weird area. But as you see this scene play out, one thing which I had initially wanted to say in my initial review before I edited it was that it kind of emphasizes the idea that along with these people being slaves, they're now being mutated into this kind of inhuman fashion. And if you know anything about kind of slavery in the US and around the world during the time where it was popular, basically, you know that basically slaves and African American people in particular were looked at as basically non-human people, and in the US for a time they were at the best 3/5 of a person, or seen that way. So I feel like making them basically mules and labor workers in that sense was basically a reflection on that idea of them being these slave people, and just how Armie Hammer, as we see in the video, which is revealed later, that he just basically threatens them. He sees them as just these creatures which he's developed, and basically just threatens to basically kill them if they keep acting out and trying to rebel, basically. And then from there, the video gets released into the world. Cassius Green, he goes on this really ridiculous game show, which would never happen in real life, hopefully, where basically you take a bunch of beatings and you get like shit poured over you and all this disgusting stuff. And more or less he ends up being able to reveal this video clip that he has of this incident where it reveals the horse people, and it shows Armie Hammer's character just being this total asshole and threatening to kill these people and basically exposing this company's scientific experiments. And he assumes that when this is revealed, the public is just going to have an outrage and the government's going to do something and shut this place down. And instead, the company's stock prices just rise exponentially. They start making more profit, and the general public just doesn't really care that much. And I believe that there's a line somewhere in the movie, I don't remember when it is exactly, but I want to say it goes something along the lines of basically if people don't think that there's a thing which really affects them, they kind of just get used to the, what is it? I think Stephen Ewan's character actually says it, because now I'm starting to remember it a bit more clearly. It's a scene where after they kind of do their makeup thing, they meet in the diner or the bar or whatever, and he basically says, you can call your politician and everything, but basically if there is a problem and you realize that you can't really do anything directly to resolve the problem or fix it, then you just kind of get used to living with the problem itself. And so I think that's kind of just a reflection of what that ends up becoming, because people don't really, they're not personally affected by this incident happening to them, and they just don't really care that this whole thing is going on behind the scenes. And not to get political or anything, I don't want that happening, but I feel like the director was trying to make a comment on today's more or less society with the idea that really despicable things or crazy things which we wouldn't have really thought people could really get away with 10 years ago or even 5 years ago are now being revealed to the public, and you would think that there'd be a huge public outcry regardless of your position on certain things, and yet the news will talk about it, and yet nothing will ever really come of it. People begin to start living with the problem and just adapt into life as that problem exists, and it just becomes kind of this interesting social commentary, and I think that's more or less what the film was trying to go for. With its ending, I didn't initially catch that when I first watched it, because I was just so surprised by the horse people and the really crappy effects that had also. That just seemed very, very strange to me as a result. And so, but upon thinking about it, like I said, 2 hours after seeing the initial movie, as I was editing the initial review, that thought kind of came to me, and also just the title of the movie, Sorry to Bother You. Initially, or generally, when people say that, it's like, oh, sorry to bother you, but, and that I think is kind of what the director is also trying to kind of say with the title. Initially, you would think it's kind of based on the telemarketer aspect of the movie, where you have Cassius in this telemarketer role, and you have sometimes telemarketers saying it when they call someone, say, oh, sorry to bother you, but would you be interested in buying this and this and this, or listening to this spiel or whatever. And instead, I think it's kind of him saying, oh, sorry to bother you, but look at what's kind of happening in society, in the country, and all that type of jazz. And so I think it's kind of a clever way to do that as well. And then there's kind of a scene tagged after, like, once the credits start rolling. I think they show the title of the movie and then maybe the lead actor's name. And they show kind of a post-credit or a mid-credit scene where you have like all these horse people, now led by Cassius, who at the end of the movie starts turning into a horse person days after he snorted the stuff, which is a little bit strange. You would think it'd be kind of an instant thing, but apparently it takes like 2 weeks or a month or something to kick in. But by this point, he's become a horse person, and basically it's leading this revolution of horse people to basically take down Armie Hammer's character. They invade his property. He's basically in this big nightgown thing, and the assumption is that they all kind of rebel against him. And again, it's kind of a reflection on how once you put enough people together, one's eventually going to rise up, lead the others, and have some sort of revolution, as we saw multiple times throughout history with slavery and slave rebellions and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's generally my interpretation of the ending. That's just kind of the thoughts which came to my mind as I was thinking about the movie, kind of more in-depthly, metaphorically, symbolically, things like that. So if you think I'm totally wrong with it, let me know your interpretation of the ending and the movie as a whole down in the comments down below. I'd love to discuss it with you, because like I said, it became one of the movies that I was never really going to think about again, to one of the ones which I'm actually really fascinated about. And like Thoroughbreds earlier this year, I kind of want to watch again when I get the chance to, just to kind of dissect it more thoroughly and see if I catch things which may be foreshadowing the ending to come or anything of that sort. But yeah, as I said, leave your thoughts on the ending down in the comments down below. I'd love to discuss it with you if you so choose. Make sure to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again as well. I would love that immensely. Ring the notification bell, all that good stuff. And as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching.